Hello, thank you for listening to Safe and Vault Store podcast. I'm Scott High. We are located in the beautiful Spokane, Washington for Allied Safe and Vault. I have with me today Di the Safe Guy, Di Hawley. He's the manager of SafeandVaultStore.com. He's here to answer all of your questions about gun safe security ratings. So Di, what can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Oh, thank you, Scott. Nice talking to you. Well, I've been in the security business starting out probably a little over 30 years now. Actually got involved with the safe aspect of it about 11 years ago, working for the parent company Allied Safe and Vault. And then, of course, as you know, we launched the website a little over 7 years ago.
Would you say that it's popular among the safe community?
Yes, absolutely. We're shipping between 6,000 and 7,000 safes a year now, and we're told by our experts that we're one of the largest on the internet, and I'm happy to say that we have a great company like Allied Safe and Vault behind us with a rich history going back to 1948.
Tell us the differences about manufacturer ratings and UL ratings.
Well, the ratings are twofold. There's fire ratings and then there's burglar ratings. The fire ratings consist of either underwriter lab ratings or independent factory ratings. The independent factory ratings is where they hire a fire testing company to test the fire rating of the safe with temperatures inside not exceeding 350 degrees. They only do a single test on the safe. They put it into a burn chamber for an hour or 2 hours, and they have thermocouplers there that measure the temperature, and they certify that it has not exceeded 350 degrees for the 1 or 2 hour testing time. The UL rating goes much further. Not only do they do the same test as the independent the fire lab test, but they do a drop test. They drop it from 30 feet in the air onto a pile of rubble, and then they take the safe and put it into the burn chamber and test it for 1 hour. And it must maintain a lower temperature lower than 350 degrees for that hour. The third test that Underwriter Laboratory does, which makes it a superior test, is they do the explosion test. The explosion test means that they test the safe to ensure that it's releasing the steam that builds up inside the safe so it doesn't turn into a giant hand grenade and kill some firemen that are fighting your fire on your home or business. So the explosion test is another third certification. So that's the fire test. On the burglar testing, the UL labs do a number of tests that have to do with tool time. A factory rating only has to do with the thickness of the steel in the safe. So in the old days, they had a B rating, which said that the body has a 1/8 to 1/4 inch of solid steel, and the door has 1/2 inch of solid steel. So that's a factory rating, and it's called a B rating. Then they went to even thicker steel ratings for C rating. C rating, for example, would be 1 inch of solid steel in the door and a 1/2 inch of solid steel in the body. Today, with the UL ratings and the advent of composite aggregate material, now they have a hybrid burglar fire safe. And the way that works is UL tests these safes. They may not have, 1 inch of steel in the door. They'll have a combination of concrete and steel. Same for the body. And what UL does is they take and give a spec. It's called the UL 687 spec, and the safes are submitted to them. And then the two best safe crackers in the world have about 58 tools that they use, and they have the blueprints. And what they do is they attack the door of the safe to see if they can get a 6-inch square hole in it or manipulate the lock so they can get it open. And every time they touch the safe with a tool and then retract it, they have a stopwatch on it. So an RST UL burglar rating means it's 5 minutes of tool time. It might take them 45 minutes to break into the safe, but it's 5 minutes of tool time where a tool actually touched the safe. The UL TL15 ratings are 15 minutes of tool time. The TL30s are 30 minutes of tool time, and so on and so forth, up into the higher ratings. It could take our safe crackers half a day, sometimes an entire day, to crack into a TL30 safe, even though it says it's 30 minutes of tool time.
So would you say that the Underwriters Laboratory is the superior rating company or organization?
Oh, absolutely. Underwriters Lab is the largest independent laboratory in the world that tests safes for burglar and fire ratings. They take no advertising dollars. All the money is paid by the manufacturer to Underwriters Lab for their time and materials during the testing process.
If I was buying a safe, what would you say a good standard rating would be on burglary rating? So where would I start when I'm looking to buy a safe?
Well, a lot of that depends. On the bottom of our website, under customer service and the headings, it says burglar ratings. We have a handy chart there that shows you the lowest rating, which is the B rating we discussed earlier. It takes you all the way up into the tool and torch resistant categories. So that is kind of a trick question, because the rating that you should be looking at is the rating that will protect the amount of valuables you have in the safe. For example, the chart that we have gives you a standard that's used by the insurance companies if you were to insure the contents of your safe. So, you know, you wouldn't want to buy a safe that's rated for $20,000 in content value maximum and put $200,000 of gold or silver or jewelry in it. And conversely, you wouldn't want to buy a safe rated for $200,000 when you're only going to have $10 or $15 or $20,000 in content value in it over the next 10 or 15 years. So the answer to that question is, you know, if you're just a typical homeowner, the BC or the ULRSC rating is a good place to start, because you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 with a burglar alarm on your house. That would be a great place to start. But if you're going to store more valuables than that, then you want to start looking at the higher ratings, okay?
Does a higher rating always mean more steel in the body or in the door?
No, because in the old days, you know, before World War II, they only had steel safes. They didn't have really any effective fire deterrent. They had some cladded safes where they poured concrete around the outside in between some sheet metal, but it was a very primitive way of fire protection. Today, though, they have these composite aggregate materials. It's a blend of clay, concrete, steel, fiberglass, and all kinds of different materials, ceramic as well. And so the UL labs on your higher rated safes, they publish a standard that says that a composite safe meeting the TL15 or TL30 rating, for example, has to meet a minimum of 1 inch of high tensile steel strength at 50,000 pounds per square inch. So what does that mean in layman's terms? It means that the safe material, the blend of the concrete composite and the steel on the outside and the inside, must meet that standard. They'll actually cut a safe in half and test the material, make sure it's 50,000 pounds per square inch, and it's equivalent. So it's basically, you have a blend of space-age materials and steel that are going to be equivalent to 1 inch of steel at 50,000 pounds per square inch.
I've noticed that on the chart it talks about a burglar alarm when it comes to the dollar amount of purchasing the safe. Does a burglar alarm necessarily factor into the more amount you could put in? Say, for example, a burglar breaks into your home. They have only a specific amount of time to get at your safe. Is this why the insurance companies rate this higher?
Yes, great question. The FBI has done studies on this, and you know, they've interviewed burglars that have gone from the dark side over to the white hat boys side, and what they tell them is, you can actually see this on videos where a robber's robbing in a house. The average time they stay is around 4 to 6 minutes. So the insurance company underwriters who insure for jewelry stores and banks and credit unions and all kinds of pawn shops, they know that if the alarm is going off, the siren is actually going off, these guys are inside trying to break into a high security safe of some sort. They're only going to be around 4 to 6 minutes. And as we discussed earlier in the podcast, it's going to take a lot longer than 4 to 6 minutes to break into the safe. So that's why, for example, on a UL TL15 burglar fire safe, the insurance underwriters will insure the contents for about up to $200,000. If you don't have an alarm on your home or business, they're going to cut that in half to about $100,000, because the actuarials, they have the case history going back, for the entire country for the last, 50 years or more. So they know how many losses they've taken, and they know that they suffer more losses without the alarm going on the house or the business versus the alarm going. So we actually strongly urge all of our customers to spend the $30 a month for a burglar alarm. My goodness, Scott, people spend $30 a week on Starbucks coffee. Why wouldn't they want to spend $30 a month to protect their home or their business?
Right. If I have a burglary safe that's, say, a TL30, can I automatically assume that the fire protection is there as well?
No, the safe companies today make the old style steel-plated safes with banks use. Banks actually put steel-plated safes with 1.5 to 2 inches of steel in the door and 1 inch in the body inside of the actual bank vault where they have the money. So it's a safe within a vault. So when you see the TL30 rating, that has to do only with the burglar rating on that safe, whether it's the old style all steel safe or it's the newer technology, the composite aggregate safe. So look for the fire label on the safe. Any reputable safe company that makes a TL30 safe is going to also have a fire test label. Typically, TL30s run from 1 hour to 2 hours on a fire test, but look inside the door or on the edge of the door for that fire label. That ensures you that the factory did test this safe for fire.
On that note, are there any gimmicks I should look out for when it comes to buying a safe, like gotcha type things?
Well, we represent 30 or 40 companies, manufacturers, and some of them use clever marketing phraseologies which bother us because we were in the safe manufacturing business for over 30 years and sold the 2 plants we had in 1998. So we do know a little bit about safes. And some of the gimmicks that bother me personally are some of the larger companies like Sentry Safe. They sell fire resistant or fireproof safes in all the big box stores like Lowe's, Home Depot, Office Depot, Costco, everywhere. And they use this advertising that says security and fire protection. But the truth of the matter is, on these fireproof safes, they were never engineered to keep the bad guys out. In fact, the steel is only 3/100ths of an inch thick on the outside of those safes. And my grandmother could take a hammer and a screwdriver and chisel a 6-inch square hole in that safe in about 10 minutes, and then reach in and grab the money or the jewelry or whatever's in it. So there are gimmicks in advertising out there, and I just tell buyers of safes to make sure it has a burglar rating on it. Don't just buy a safe with a fire rating and think that you're getting protection, because you're not.
Okay, so I should look for I should be wary for something that promises 100% fire or burglary protectant, correct?
Yeah, you should be looking for the labels, and the labels are going to say Underwriters Lab RSC, Residential Security Container, or TL15 or TL30. These are the Underwriter Lab labels, and there's many of them. There's probably another 10 that take you up to millions of dollars of content value for the more sophisticated safe owners. But absolutely, look for a label.
Okay. Switching gears here a little bit, I'd like to ask some questions about locks. Like you see in the movies where they have a burglar defeats a dial combination lock in a matter of minutes. On most of the locks that come on the higher burglary rated safes, can they be defeated that easily, even if somebody who professionally knows what they're doing when it comes to locks?
That's a great question. Today in the safe world, there's a lot of imported safes from China, Vietnam, and other countries. And many of these safes are the fireproof safes like we discussed earlier, and they have very inexpensive locks. The locks probably cost $2 or $3 to make overseas. The locks have no UL rating whatsoever. The burglar fire safes that we sell on our Safe and Vault Store site, in the product description you'll see it'll tell you that the lock has a UL Underwriters Lab Group 2 lock certification. Well, what does that mean? In layman's terms, it means that UL is certifying that this lock is manipulation resistant to a professional burglar. There's a 1 in 1 million chance that you can defeat the lock that way. And the other thing is that we have guys that work for our parent company, Allied Safe and Vault, that go out and crack safes all the time. And sometimes they use manipulation. And they're good. They know what they're doing. But they often will take an hour, 2 hours, sometimes longer to manipulate a lock that's a UL certified lock. So what you're seeing on the internet, Scott, is these made in China locks that are so cheap and even an amateur can break into them. So that's why we caution people, look for a safe that has a UL certified lock.
Okay. Along with the lock, would the bolts also matter? The locking bolts that go into the safe? Yes.
As you go up in rating, you start out at the RSC rating. There might be only 1 inch diameter bolts or 1 1/4. But typically, when you get up in the ratings, you want to look for 1 1/2 inch solid steel bolts. That's really important. When you get into the TL15 and the TL30, those safes have to meet the UL standard. So as a consumer, your assurance is there's only 8 or 9 companies that make TL15 and TL30 safes in the North American continent, and we represent probably 7 of those. And those safes, by having that UL TL15 or TL30 label on them, as a consumer, that's your assurance that you're getting a product that has been tested the same, no matter who the manufacturer is. So you can rest assured they're solid bolts. You can rest assured they're 1 1/2 inch in diameter on a TL15 or a TL30 safe.
So the more bolts there are in the safe, the more secure it will be, or is it all rated on the same testing factors?
Well, not necessarily, because when you get into the higher ratings of TL15 and TL30, the doors are so, the steel in them is so thick, and the doors are so thick, they're 4 1/2 inches thick, that you don't necessarily have to have more bolts. More is not always the answer in securing the door. In most cases where a professional burglar breaks into a safe, a lot of times they attack the body, not the door. But there are options you can buy. If you're in a really high-end situation where you have hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars of content value in the safe, you might want to look at a 3-way bolt system, which has more bolts. But it doesn't necessarily stand that having more bolts makes it more secure. You need to look at the construction of the body and the door and the kind of lock that's on it and the type of relockers. Are there 2 relockers, 3 relockers? All these things play into the security of the safe.
Explain to me what a relocker does.
Well, there's many kinds of relockers. The most common is on all the UL Group 2 and above certified locks, there is a spring-loaded relocker inside of the lock. Whether the lock is made by Sargent & Greenleaf, Lagarde, or Cobb & Moss, these are 3 American lock makers that are all in Lexington, Kentucky. They all put in a spring-loaded relocker. What that means, it's loaded to a certain frequency of sonic activity So if somebody's beating on the safe with a sledgehammer or drills or saws, it'll detect that level, which is only known by the lock manufacturers, and it'll fire the relocker. The relocker then prevents the bolts we just discussed, it prevents them from retracting into the door and opening. That means that door is locked solid shut. The only way they're going to get that door open is if they somehow manage to drill into the safe and cut the bolts. So that's a good thing. If somebody's attacking your safe with brute force and physical force and that spring-loaded relocker fires, it's one level of protecting your safe. Another relocker is a bolt relocker, which is tied into the spring-loaded relocker in the lock. And if they try to drill the bolts out from the side of the safe, then that one will fire the spring-loaded relocker and prevent the bolts from retracting. And finally, a third type of relocker is a glass relocker. And it's a piece of glass that's tempered glass like in your front windshield of your car. And they put that glass in front of the lock, protecting the three main bolts that mount the lock onto the back side of the steel on the door. A favorite way of drilling open a safe is to try to drill open those bolts and make the lock fall down into the safe, thereby making it easy to open the door. The glass relocker has a tension cable that goes into the spring-loaded relocker inside of the lock, and if they try to drill, they break the glass, it releases the tension, and fires the relocker. So now we're right back to where we started to before. The relocker prevents the bolts from retracting.
Interesting. So when I'm looking for items such as a relocker, solid steel bolts, higher security ratings, am I going to want one of the above, or is it better to have all of those security protecting measures?
Well, typically on your lower level, like a B rated or a BC rated safe, you'll just have the spring-loaded relocker on the lock. It really depends on the manufacturer. But when you get up into the UL RSC, they all have at least 2 relockers, all of them, and many have 3. And as you get higher up, you get the 2 relockers or the 3. Another replacement for the glass relocker is a steel manganese hard plate. The hard plate is 1/4-inch steel that is placed in front of the lock, just like the tempered glass was on the glass relocker. And basically that hard plate, when they drill it, they break their drill bits. And they keep breaking them, and they keep breaking them. And so it's there to protect the lock from getting drilled out of the door. So the rule of thumb is, when you're looking for a safe on our site, we usually mention how many relockers there are. But if that information isn't there, give us a call, and we'll be happy to find out for you if we haven't put it on the website already.
A lot of people want to know about warranty information on a particular safe. What will the warranty protect when I purchase a safe?
Again, we're talking 30 or 40 manufacturers here, so this is kind of a blanket statement, but it's important to check if that's important to you to know, is the warranty on most all safes that are manufactured today is 1 year, parts and labor on manufacturing, workmanship, and material. That is on the safe. That's the steel box safe, the bolt work, and all the other stuff that comes along with that. The one exception to that is the lock. The lock has a 1-year warranty on the parts, but not on the labor. And I'm talking about the UL certified Group 2 locks that come on most of our burglar fire safes on the site.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
If I'm say a gun enthusiast and I own several guns and I've just purchased a gun safe, should I tell my homeowner's insurance company that I just bought a safe? Will that lower my premiums at all, or does that depend?
It depends on the insurance company. One thing I failed to mention on the warranty was there are a number of gun safe manufacturers like American Security and Fort Knox and others that give a lifetime warranty protection against fire and a burglar attack, and they'll replace your safe for you at no cost. But as far as your insurance goes, every insurance company is different. I know the one that I use for my home gives me a discount for having a safe, but some of them don't. So the best thing to do is call your insurance broker, ask the question, can I get a discount on my insurance if I have a home alarm system? Can I get a discount on my insurance if I put my valuables or my guns in a gun safe? These are all great questions to ask your own personal insurance broker, and make him go to the underwriters and ask, because oftentimes the insurance brokers don't know. So force him to call the underwriter or the actuarial of the insurance company.
Well, Di, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and answering all these questions about gun safe security ratings. If you have any more information, definitely check out our website, www.SafeandVaultStore.com, or give us a call. And yeah, thanks again, Di.
Thank you, Scott. Enjoyed talking to you.
Hello, thank you for listening to Safe and Vault Store podcast. I'm Scott High. We are located in the beautiful Spokane, Washington for Allied Safe and Vault. I have with me today Di the Safe Guy, Di Hawley. He's the manager of SafeandVaultStore.com. He's here to answer all of your questions about gun safe security ratings. So Di, what can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Oh, thank you, Scott. Nice talking to you. Well, I've been in the security business starting out probably a little over 30 years now. Actually got involved with the safe aspect of it about 11 years ago, working for the parent company Allied Safe and Vault. And then, of course, as you know, we launched the website